The film begins by introducing a mysterious restaurant where the chef meticulously inspects the dishes to ensure the highest quality, revealing his extreme strictness. We meet Goring, who wakes up in a concrete cell marked with the number 48. Confused, he notices that his cell is sparsely furnished with just a bed, a sink, and a hole in the floor, which his cellmate Trimagasi refers to as the pit. There are numerous floors like theirs, each housing 2 prisoners assigned fake names by the administration. Goring asks Trimagasi why they are there, and Trimagasi explains that it's clear. They are there to eat leftovers from the floors above them. Goring peers into the pit, trying to communicate with the prisoners below, but Trimagasi informs him that they can't be heard and that the people above will never respond. Trimagasi reveals that he's been in the pit for a few months, and that they will share this cell for exactly 1 month. Suddenly, a sound interrupts them as a green light turns on and a red light turns off, signaling that food is being lowered through a platform into the pit. The prisoners have only 2 minutes to eat as much as they can before the food descends to the level below. The lower your cell, the less chance you have of getting enough to eat. At the end of each month, the prisoners are rearranged. When Goring first sees the platform, he refuses to eat the leftovers, feeling disgusted and deciding to leave the food for those on the lower levels. Trimagasi, however, quickly devours as much as he can, even spitting on the table, fully aware that the prisoners above probably did the same. Goring saves an apple for later, unaware that once the platform descends to the lower level, the temperature in the pit begins to rise drastically. If he doesn't return the apple, he risks burning to death due to the heat. This situation reminds Goring of the interview he had before entering the pit, where he signed a contract agreeing to remain until the end of his designated period. Each prisoner was required to bring 1 item with them, and Goring chose a copy of Don Quixote. He voluntarily entered the pit and has committed to staying for 6 months in exchange for a certified certificate. In the early morning, the platform rises at an incredible speed, so it is extremely dangerous to stay there. The next day, Goring refuses to eat again. Trimagasi thinks it is a waste that he is on level 48, and Goring asks Trimagasi why he is in that place. In summary, he recounts that he saw an ad on TV for a knife sharpener that made dull knives cut through bricks. It was called Samurai Max, and he bought the sharpener very happily. The next day, the same brand advertised a knife that didn't go dull even after cutting through bricks, called Samurai Plus. This drove him crazy because he realized he had been deceived every day by the media. Since he was already not in the best mental state, he threw the TV out the window, but it ended up hitting a young man who died. He had to choose between a psychiatric hospital or the pit, and he ended up there. He mentioned he had been on level 132, so he imagined there must be lower levels with many more people. When the platform reaches the lower levels, there is no more food left for anyone. Being on the lower levels is so bad because you can survive for 30 days without food. But the problem is being on such levels for several months in a row. This scares Goring, and he tries to talk to people on other lower levels, asking them to ration food since people are starving down below. But they ignore him, and in response, Trimagasi thinks he's a communist. His solidarity doesn't work in the pit, and he ends up urinating on the level below. He then reveals what he chose to bring with him into the pit, precisely to Samurai Plus. The next day, the platform comes by again, and this time, Goring finally starts eating, still a bit disgusted, but with no other choice. A few days later, someone falls from a level above, and according to Trimagasi, this is common because people up top conclude that if they fall to a lower level the next month, death is preferable. But no one will do anything about it. Trimagasi tells Goring about the levels he has been on, and mentions that they will be together next month. Realizing that the cells are swapped and the cellmates are kept, he understands that when Trimagasi was on an extremely low level, there was no food, and probably his cellmate was killed and eaten by him. When the platform comes again, the girl is sitting on it named Miharu. Goring is worried because he notices she is injured, but Trimagasi tells him to leave her alone, saying that Miharu descends from the pit every month searching for her daughter, who disappeared on the platform. She kills her cellmate to have a better chance of being with her daughter in the following month. The person who fell from above was probably a victim of her. Trimagasi explains that he has never killed anyone, although he did eat a body that fell on his level. His cellmate had finished his time in the pit, which is why he was replaced. When the platform descends to the next level, other prisoners try to take advantage of Miharu, but she kills them and returns to the platform. Days go by, and Goring and Trimagasi even form a friendship during this time. But when the month ends, the prisoners are sedated and their cells are swapped. And this happened that night. When Goring wakes up, he is on level 171 and tied to his bed. Trimagasi tied him up because he was younger and stronger, so Trimagasi needed to protect himself. They hear screams coming from the floors above. According to Trimagasi, these are from people who were screaming upon realizing the levels they are on. Soon the platform arrives and is completely clean, not a crumb left. The only way to survive, according to Trimagasi, is to eat Goring, but he will wait a few days to do so, creating psychological pressure on Goring, who becomes very weak in the pit. After 8 days, Trimagasi says it is finally time to get his food. Goring begs for his life, but Trimagasi ignores him. Then he takes the knife and cuts a piece of flesh from Goring's leg. But the platform arrives before he can eat. Maru is on it and goes after Trimagasi to defend Goring, using the knife he likes so much. Miharu frees Goring and hands him the knife, and he ends Trimagasi. Goring is very weak and ends up passing out. When he wakes up, he sees Miharu, who is taking care of his leg and is devouring Trimagasi. She offers Goring a piece of meat, which after thinking for a while, he ends up accepting. He almost vomits but drinks some water and knows he has to eat this to survive. After showing him what he needs to do to live on that level, she gets on the platform without saying anything and leaves. Meanwhile, at the administration, the chief wants to know who left a hair in the desert. In the pit, Trimagasi's body is rotting, and Goring has no choice but to eat the maggots from his rotten flesh as well. Goring is hallucinating, seeing the ghost of Trimagasi talking to him, judging him as he eats his rotten flesh. Goring smells gas, which means he will be swapped to another cell again. While dreaming that he is with the woman who saved him, he realizes he has been kissed by a dog. Goring is surprised to find that his new cellmate is Imogari, who interviewed him before he entered the prison. She chose to bring her Dachshund named Ramsey to the prison, and now they are on level 33. Goring remembers that bringing a Dachshund to that place is not a good idea because there he is more of a sausage than a dog. Goring begins to recall the day of the interview and how the pauses Imogiri took between questions were extremely sinister. Now, Imogiri explains that she came voluntarily, just like Goring, and did not know that people died there. She explained that the pit has 200 levels and that all levels could eat if everyone just ate what was necessary. She believes something needs to happen to create a spontaneous sense of solidarity, but Goring does not believe this is possible. He thinks that the only thing that could work is the death of a minor, and that could create a spontaneous sense. But Imogiri is sure that minors under 16 are not accepted in the company's policy. She tries to prepare portions for the lower levels, but this is ignored. When Goring threatens to defecate in the food, they start accepting it. One day, Miharu descends injured on the platform, and Goring helps to treat her. However, the next day she eats Ramsey, which makes Imogiri so sad that she even gives up eating for the remaining days. Miharu continues her journey down the platform. On his last day on level 33, Goring tries to make Imogiri eat something because there won't be food the next day. But Imogiri is too depressed to get out of bed. The next morning, Goring wakes up to find himself on level 202, which means there are many more levels than Imogiri knew. This revelation is too much for her to handle, and she uses the bedsheets to give up. At this moment, the hallucination of Trimagasi reappears and asks if Goring is going to eat his new cellmate. This time, he is accompanied by Imogiri and her dog, who insists that he should eat her body. Goring does his best to ignore the constant delusions in his head and tries to occupy himself with things, tricking his stomach by eating pages from his book. He picks up a piece of plate to start counting the days on the wall. Eventually, the hunger becomes unbearable, and Goring finally begins to eat Imogiri, while Trimagasi guides him on where to cut. The 30 days pass, and the new exchange finally happens. Goring is extremely pleased to find himself on level 6. Goring's new cellmate is Baharat, whose chosen item is a rope. Baharat is very excited because he believes he can climb to the top and from there, escape the pit by reaching level 0. He asks the prisoners on level 5 for help. The couple mocks him, but before he accepts the rope, they talk about God and seem convinced to help. When Baharat begins to climb, the other prisoner pulls down her pants and defecates on Baharat's face. Shocked and disgusted, Baharat lets go of the rope and falls. Goring catches him at the last moment, but the rope is lost when it falls into the pit. When the platform arrives, they need to eat while hearing the prisoners on level 5 having fun. Over time, the hallucinations of Trimagasi and Imogiri reappear. Trimagasi says Goring is doing well, because there is only 1 month left before he finishes and leaves with the certified certificate. But Imogiri reminds him that change will never happen spontaneously. This inspires Goring to come up with a plan, and he asks Baharat for help. They need to jump on the platform with any weapon they can find and ensure that people ration as much food as possible so everyone can eat. Goring had made calculations when he was on level 202, and judging by the time the platform takes to move and rise, he estimates there are about 250 levels. So it should be possible to do this. Baharat agrees to help and work together. They break a bed to use the metal pieces as weapons. The two jump on the platform and go to level 7, where Goring points out that they must not allow the prisoners to take anything because these people eat every day and will certainly eat tomorrow. So they should only eat and distribute food after level 50, which is where the people who need to eat are. Baharat hesitates because the prisoners are his friends who helped him climb a few weeks ago, But as soon as the old man reacts furiously, he realizes Goring is right and begins to help keep everyone away. The dew continues descending, threatening people to leave the food intact. A few levels down, Baharat is shocked to find his master, an old wise man whom he greatly respects. The old man approves of what the guys are doing, but tries to remind them that the administration is unaware of this, and that it doesn't matter if they succeed or not. But perhaps the workers on level 0 might care. They need a symbol for this. Baharat and Goring chose the panna cotta because it is the most luxurious dish and will make a big impression if it arrives intact at the end. The mission continues as they descend, keeping the panna cotta safe and fending off people with threats. Upon reaching level 50, Baharat and Goring begin to distribute rations of food, and the people are extremely grateful. On level 97, Goring and Baharat encounter an elderly sick man and a boy with Down syndrome. Goring attempts to feed the elderly man, but the boy warns him not to bother, revealing that he plans to kill the man later to take what he has eaten. On the next level, they discover a corpse, leading Goring to assume this is where Miharu, another prisoner, woke up. The platform continues its descent without stopping at these empty levels, making Goring realize that there are far more than 250 levels. When they reach the next level, they find two men attacking Miharu, one wielding a sword and the other a large knife. Goring and Baharat jump in to help her, but defending themselves proves extremely difficult. Baharat manages to defeat his opponent first and then assists Goring in killing the second man. Unfortunately, it's too late for Miharu, who is already dead. Overcome with grief, Goring begins to cry, but Baharat pulls him back to the platform as it continues to descend. As they keep going down, they distribute food to the other prisoners, facing increasingly brutal scenes at each level. Although many levels are empty except for corpses, the platform finally stops at level 333, which appears to be the last one. Initially, they think it's empty, but they soon discover someone hiding under the bed. Molly, a missing child. Goring and Baharat approach her, and as soon as they leave the platform, it begins to descend normally again. Goring urges Baharat to throw the panna cotta into the pit, but Baharat refuses. Surprisingly, the room doesn't become hot or cold as punishment. After some hesitation, Baharat decides to give the dessert to the girl, and the three of them remain on that level for a while. Goring eventually falls asleep, plagued by nightmares of Trimagasi, Imugwiri, and now Miharu. When he wakes up, he discovers that Baharat has died from his injuries sustained during the fight the day before. The next time the platform arrives, Goring takes Molly with him. They descend to level 0, which is dark and empty. Trimagasi appears, telling Goring to leave the platform because he is not part of the message. Together, they watch as the platform rises with Molly, hoping she will show the administration the grim reality of their situation. That's a wrap on today's movie recap. If you enjoyed the breakdown and want to see more, remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell icon so you get all the updates. Let me know in the comments what movie you'd like me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.